Recording in progress. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Speculative Sundays poetry reading for National Poetry Month. Sunday, April 13th, 2025. We are live on Facebook via Zoom. I'm Akua Leslie Hope, speaking to you from the ancestral land of the Onondaga, also known as the Seneca, keepers of the Western Door in the area currently called the Southern Finger Lakes region of New York State. I pay homage to the Seneca, past, present, and future, and to my own ancestors by whose grace I exist and am sustained. The series was made possible in part by the Artist Development Grant Program administered by the Arts Council of the Southern Finger Lakes region of New York State and funded by the Community Foundation of Elmira Corning and the Finger Lakes Incorporated. It was later funded in part by poets and writers with public funds from the New York State Council on the Arts, with the support of the New York State Legislature. And this year, the Statewide Community Regrant Program, a regrant program of the New York State Council on the Arts, with support of the Office of the Governor and the New York State Legislature, and administered by the Arts Council of the the Arts Council of the Southern Finger Lakes of New York, enables us to be here. Thank you, all funders and supporters. This reading is being recorded, so if you've got concerns, please keep your camera off. Inaugurated in September 2020, this series seeks to remediate the paucity of presentations of speculative poetry by its living creators. Now in its 6th year, the Speculative Sundays poetry reading series has presented 43 hour-long events, including 56 poet readings. So proud, so proud. You know what speculative poetry is? Just in case. It's ancient of days, older than the flood, the poetry of possibilities. It centers the imagined as real. The first recorded human literature was speculative verse. The first. Gilgamesh, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Iliad and the Odyssey, and Beowulf are ancient examples. Speculative poetry includes alternate history, apocalyptic astro poetry, cryptid, cyberpunk, dystopian, fabulism, fairy tales, fantasy, folklore, futurism, horror, magic, monsters, mythology, occult, paranormal, post-apocalyptic, robots, romantasy, science fiction, shifters, slipstream, solar punk, solar funk, space opera, superhero, supernatural, sword and sorcery, sword and soul, steampunk, time travel, utopian, and weird. It takes all poetic forms, plus one of its own called sci-fi coup. From nursery rhymes to Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, from Puff the Magic Dragon to Zombie Jamboree, we've all recited, heard, and sung speculative poetry. The first of our two poets reading this evening, or late afternoon for some of you, is Michael H. Payne, whose first short story, Crow's Curse, was published in 1991 in volume 7 of the Writers of the Future anthology series. His first novel, Blood, the Blood Jaguar, was published by Tor Books in 1998. He's been posting at least 3 pages of web comics to various websites since 2000, and his poetry, including Ode to the Artistic Temperament, which tied for 3rd place in the long category of the 2020 Riesling Awards, has appeared in Space and Time, Journey, and multiple issues of the Silver Blade webzine. Welcome, Michael H. Payne.
Well, thanks, Akua, for inviting me. I'm just getting over a head cold, of course, so hopefully I won't be too snurfly throughout here. I'm also going to try not to dwell on the dull technical details of form and meter and all of that, but I am a dull technical kind of guy, so no promises. We'll start off here with one that's currently on the ballot in the long form category for the Riesling Award, or the Riesling Award. I've never known how it's pronounced. One's a German wine, and the other is given out annually by the Science Fiction and Fantasy Poetry Association. John Simononi bought this for the Silver Blade website. The form is a pantoum, so every line appears twice, and the meter is iambic tetrameter. The title is One Last Pie in the Face. With crashing gates and toppling stone, explosions rock the palace grounds. The rebels shriek, "Destroy the throne!" Obliteration swirls, surrounds. Explosions rock the palace grounds, but Kyla keeps a steady pace. Obliteration swirls, surrounds the kingdom's final resting place. But Kyla keeps a steady pace, alert and heading deeper in. The kingdom's final resting place arrived at last. She spares a grin. Alert and heading deeper in, she finds the kitchen empty, dark. Arrived at last, she spares a grin. The time has come to disembark. She finds the kitchen empty, dark, prepared and ready, set to serve. The time has come to disembark, to test her mettle, skills, and nerve. Prepared and ready, set to serve, she sought the realm in ages past to test her mettle, skills, and nerve. Recalling all, she's left aghast. She sought the realm in ages past, despite the warning, mortals kill. Recalling all, she's left aghast. Naive, her folly scares her still. Despite the warning, mortals kill, she worked to change the human world. Naive, her folly scares her still. Suggestions trampled, mocked, and hurled. She worked to change the human world, to make it fair for everyone. Suggestions trampled, mocked, and hurled for centuries. At last, she's done. To make it fair for everyone, she learned, appeals, but not to kings. For centuries, at last she's done. Around her, justice shrieks and sings. She learned appeals, but not to kings, the crowds who wish the royals dead. Around her, justice shrieks and sings, the status quo discredited. The crowds who wish the royals dead are ever mortals, just the same. The status quo discredited, she can't remain, replete with shame. Are ever mortals just the same? Perhaps there's some she never met. She can't remain, replete with shame, she needs the dough, the oven set. Perhaps there's some she never met in all the years she searched about. She needs the dough, the oven set, the spell she'll bake to lead her out. In all the years she searched about, she found she liked the cooks the best. The spell she'll bake to lead her out declares she's through with all the rest. She found she liked the cooks the best, so here's her magic. Baking pie declares she's through with all the rest. Aromas spin, transmogrify. So here's her magic, baking pie. Her mortal nature drifts away. Aromas spin, transmogrify. Dispersed, she's gone amidst the fray. Her mortal nature drifts away. The rebels shriek, destroy the throne! Dispersed, she's gone amidst the fray, with crashing gates and toppling stone. Okay, so next, here's 4 poems from my first chapbook. It's coming out later this year from the folks at Island of Whack Whack. The book's called Two Strikes and I'm Out. And the overall story concerns a hapless first-person narrator trying to make some sort of connection to the outside world. In the first half of the book, he's reaching out to a talking animal fantasy world, and in the second half to a computer-driven science fiction world. So these 4 are from the first half, where our hapless narrator has met a female fly, and they get to talking. Impulsively, he invites her out to dinner, and she's thrilled at the idea of eating inside a restaurant instead of out of the garbage cans as usual. So she accepts, and our narrator immediately starts fretting. Now, all the poems in the first half of the book are 3 quatrains long. The last line of each quatrain rhymes with the second line of the next, and the first and third line of the quatrain after that. The odd-numbered lines are anapestic tetrameter acephalectic, and the even-numbered lines are anapestic trimeter acephalectic. And because I can never pile enough rules on myself, each poem in the first half of the book is built around a key word, and those words are in alphabetical order. So here are H, I, J, and K from Two Strikes and I'm Out, due out later in June from Island of Whack Whack. H. Agreeing to meet her, I swallow my fright and head for my usual haunt. That's home, it's my H. I may move from its sight, but part of me longs to remain. I'm kind of a ghost, though I've reached a détente with forces outside me that drain the blood from my body and leave me so gaunt it takes me some time to recharge. Alone is important for keeping me sane, afloat at my dock like a barge. My constant consistencies never constrain. Instead, I can focus beyond. I. So I is for introvert. Broadcast at large, but quiet. I've never been fond of fireworks, rodeos, people named Sarge. The simple and gentle's the best. My date with an insect, however, has spawned conflicting desires in my chest. A part of me wishes a magical wand would sparkle and wipe it away. Except she was funny and really impressed, the part of me doomed to display my failure of intellect test after test. At least it won't lead to romance. J. It's justification that gives us the J, excuses I stack in advance. It isn't a date. It's at most a parfait, a light conversation and meal. I've never engaged in relationships dance, have never encountered the feel of skin against skin, have avoided the trance produced by the feminine gaze. A half of a century's managed to steal and slide through its slippery ways. Alone is important, but hey, let's be real. A cuddle or two might be nice. K. Impossible, really. The thought doesn't phase. My dreams are like summertime ice, or better, like kindling, the warmest of Ks, dispersing its ash on the breeze. We'll meet and have dinner the once, maybe twice. Our friendship will wane by degrees until we're contented and settled, precise, a passionless clockwork affair. Besides, she's an insect. She doesn't have fleas. She is one. And yes, I'm aware, a fly's not a flea, and a cough's not a sneeze. The matter's unworthy to moot. And it goes on from there. That'll be out then in the summer from Island of Whack Whack, called Two Strikes and I'm Out. Okay, so next, So this is the poem that tied for third place in the long form category of the Rieslings back in 2020. Again, John C. Manoni bought this for Silverblade. It's in iambic pentameter, and it's an ode in terza rima, after the form of Percy Shelley's Ode to the West Wind. So uh, it's tercets. The second line of each tercet rhymes with the first and third line of the next. And after four tercets, you put in a couplet to break the thing up into sonnet-sized strophes. This particular ode is 7 strophes long. It's called Ode to the Artistic Temperament. 1. Awake at dawn, Medusa feeds her hair with mice she raises specially beneath the kitchen sink, her landlord unaware. She sips her coffee, dons the mystic wreath that keeps her form and features well disguised, ignites the spell, and goes to brush her teeth. The mirror shows her plain and middle-sized, a simple mortal hardly worth a glance. Success, in other words. She's unsurprised, for magic always works. Its lying dance detestable. It leaves her feeling stained, constricted, itchy, trapped by circumstance. She slithers down the stairs, herself restrained, and knows her true integrity's maintained. 2. The cellar-level space she rents to work is cramped with statues, carved, she's proud to say. She hasn't petrified a single jerk in centuries, prefers the harder way, the honesty it forces through the stone. A slip, and all her efforts gone astray. She's done with cheating, simply won't condone abusive ways she formerly allowed, although the choice has left her here alone. Remembering, she blinks away the cloud across her vision, breathes, and tries to shake the thoughts that wrap her tight as any shroud. Her sisters shouting, sure of her mistake, will ever echo, ever burn and ache. 3. It seems 100,000 years ago that Euryale spat her sheer contempt, while Stheno grumbled, poisonous and low. Humanity's a crutch, and we're exempt from all its false morality. Arise, embrace the curse. We're meant to live unkempt. Destroy your shackles, smash the yoke that tries to grind the individual to dust. If we're the monsters, show the term applies. For every stab they aim at us, we must return the favor, practice what we preach, and stoke their anger, gluttony, and lust. Her sisters flared their claws with every screech. Medusa sneered and rose to hiss her speech. 4. Enough with all this stupid, useless talk. It's 3 against a billion mortal souls. Our efforts won't create the slightest shock. A true successful monster harbors goals, attainable, deliberate, sincere, and uses tools humanity controls. A true successful monster reaches here. Medusa tapped her scaly, shapely chest. Attacks the heart, instilling honest fear. Naive, they called her, feckless, weak, the rest of all the angry epithets they knew before they stalked away. It's for the best, Medusa mumbled, thinking it was true. But swift as sparks, the spinning decades flew. 5. Poetic stories twice declared her slain. In midnight fields of mud, she coiled and wept, her sisters bloody, mangled, soaked with rain. As mortal cities spread, Medusa crept, enchanted, torn by wonder, grief, and hate. Within their midst, she lived and ate and slept, and ran a scheme that let her aggregate sufficient funds to live in quietude. She'd turn a random stranger into slate, then sell the statue, innocent or lewd. Suspicious accusations came and went, the Middle Ages, moldy, dark, and rude. Except the architecture, heaven sent, but breeding still a certain discontent. 6. Cathedral stone would send her half insane, ecstatic, moaning, crawling end to end, incredulous to think the human brain, for all its rush to blame and condescend, had harnessed such techniques, producing art. She kept locating more to recommend, enraptured, finding statues full of heart, alive in ways she knew she couldn't match. She vowed she'd learn to carve, to make a start. The decades passed again, and batch by batch, Medusa grew to love the secret shape a rock contained, awaiting strike and scratch, exposing truth with each revealing scrape, emotions frozen, longing to escape. 7. Her hair begins to cough. She climbs the stairs, another dusk enveloping the sky, as lights illumine all the city's squares. The bistro down the block has pizza pie and conversation, artists, writers, songs, a panoply to fill and fortify. Medusa rarely talks among the throngs, but nods to those whose faces through the years have made her understand that she belongs. They ebb and flow, but still she calls them peers, ephemeral but lasting, air and fire, creating joys and torments, hopes and fears. Apart, but still apart. She won't retire as long as mortals seethe with such desire. Okay, what do we got? Time for one more here? Okay, so here's some free verse. I don't write a lot of free verse. I'm just way too tightly wrapped for that, I guess. But this one appeared last summer in the Middle West Press anthology Giant Robot Poems, Volume 1. And it's called Late for Sunday Dinner. The car wouldn't start. And then when it did, the engine went shooting out through the front grille, dragging all the hoses, lines, and belts with it, and transformed into a 3.5-foot tall robot monster. Pistons madly pumping, valves furiously clicking, the cables that connect the distributor cap to the spark plugs writhing behind the thing like Medusa's hair. It roared as if I'd stomped the accelerator, and then it leapt for the windshield. I rolled from the car just as the thing hit, tumbled into the middle of Spruce Street, and stood there, watching the monster tear and shred and grind the entire interior and body of the car till it was just strips of imitation leather and a powdery mix of steel and plastic. That's when it ran out of gas, and I called an Uber so I wouldn't be any later than I already was. Yes, Dad, I know. It's my fault for not buying a domestic brand. Yes, Mom, I know. An Uber driver could very well be a serial killer in disguise. I'm sorry I made you worry, but I'm here now, so let's eat. With that, I hand back the balance of my time. Thank you again.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You are so marvelous. You are so sweeping, engaging, and humorous. And the form is a vessel that carries us as well as the story. Oh, Mike, that was just so delightful, so humorous, so engaging. And the Medusa is a figure that I've written about and thought about. And I'm always delighted to meet her again through someone else's eyes. That through the generational, the multi-generational sweep of her evolution. Of course, you won that. I did not remember that. And it was so wonderful to have you share that with us as well as the others. We've got just a minute. I want to ask one question, and then if there's any time at the end, I want to invite the audience to ask both of you questions. But I wanted to know, What's this with you and humor? I adore humor and you're so good at it. How does this happen? He's laughing.
That's just the way I'm stirred up inside, I
Stirred
guess.
up inside. Uh,
Yeah.
you talk about it as tightly wound, but it's wound, but not it's not tight in the negative sense at all. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much. Well, next up is Up from Some Dirt, formerly of Louisville. He's a writer and artist residing in Lexington, Kentucky, with his partner, the acclaimed novelist and poet Crystal Wilkinson. An autodidact. Brothadirt is an award-winning artist whose works have been exhibited in Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, and Tennessee. In literature, Some Dirt is the author of the genre fluid art and literature book Caul, spelled like the one over your face, Caul and Response, Argus House, the chapbooks Tangerine Tubman from Handed Juju, Chiaroscuro Vitae, and the Time Unravelers, see, that's the trip up, the Time Unravelers Travel Journal. Don't make me say that again. Radical Paper Press. Up from Some Dirt's full-length collections, affectionately, and he says, and perhaps infamously referred to as the Rainbow Excrement Trilogy, include Deifying a Total Darkness from Harry Tankoos Books, to Emit Teal, the color, Broadstone Books, and the second stop, and that's how I met him, through the second stop is Jupiter, Wayne State University Press in 2023. In 2022, Up From Some Dirt was inducted into the renowned collective, the Affrilachian Poets. Welcome, Up From Some Dirt.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this. This is going to be wonderful. I'm going to try my best to be. Eeyore is my patron saint, so I'm dour and a curmudgeon, and it's hard to get me to smile. So as lively and as enthusiastic as y'all are, I don't know if I can live up to that, but I'm gonna try to be a little bit entertaining. I shun the spotlight. I shun, being seen. I don't know why. It's just my parents, I guess, blue collar workers in me. And I'm probably the exact opposite of our previous reader, because I couldn't write form, to save my life. I make up form. Like I have a poem I call a sonnet, which is two sonnets divided by a syndrome. So that's about as close to a form as I get. Most everything I write is free verse. And I'm going to open up with a poem called 1369, which is a mashup of Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man and 1369, the year of the 18th dynasty, Egypt. 1369 also played a part in Ellison's book. It was a number of light bulbs that was in the underground cave apartment of the lead character. So that bleeds over to 1369 for the Egyptian year. And this from my book, Deifying A Total Darkness. 1369. 1371, I don't know how to tell you to feel compelled loving me, to copy and paste, to save a positive JPEG of us to your Pinterest, to paint a quaint spouse black, seeing gardenias, not gunpowder, in orbit, crowning the heads of her brown babies, ruminate with romance on the elegance of her earlobes, her stretch marks, her keloids. Every poem, her constant companion, her courage across every threshold. Our mouths, her entryway to privilege and a life of promise. Our songs to her at play in beds of rosebuds and pomegranate seeds, her kitchen's common kink, cast in coal, diamonds and pearls on the highest of billboards. 1370. Akhenaten knew the worth of a simple narrative, monopolizing light and power, before heathen scribes misinterpreted and made his single pantheon monotheistic. 1369. Whitewash Jones' precursed invisibility, his harmonica a shadow of self, his immortality a magic act, Nkrumah in the dust. In the left corner, the incessant challenger, Lucas Beauchamp. In the corner to my right, Bigger Thomas, our Inferno champion. Twin bevels of a Plymouth Rock. Our soul said a signifying chimp, planet of the epiphanies. But I'm not a simian, said the semiotician. Monkey sees what monkeys do, says the gorilla. After the electromagnetic pulse has failed to kill us. If and once we will awaken, covered in mucus dark as the end of days, and slither limbless one across another in unearthed postulation. Every pore a new property, and you crawl to me for requisition or appropriation. For confiscation and seizure, our dead eyes crushed with carbon, having grown accustomed to the long, dark empty of this unrenewable world, our slow skins dispersing nitrogen and other atoms blackened and airborne from a crestfallen heaven. Up to our breast meats in the remnants of a crumbled apart moon. Tonsils thrashing in labyrinths of neon, our teeth rendered soft and mute and unable to contain the properties of speech. The phosphorus grown vascular and pulsing deep within our throats, with only touch and tongue to radiate syllable. Singing odes through our damp, lubricious pelts, our digital prosthetics made sulfur and claw, a metallic god starved until coital and fertile in the wireless obedience of our humid, vulgar breath, where bloodletting is the only return to light. After entirely the old prior world is broken apart ember, our body, shrapnel, and soft spot is valley for some small warmth in cities of ice, forged on fallen him, while the low-hanging limbs above throb though bereft of fruit, these burned boughs passing for sky. With every seed set to boil, where we shed skins wet with desire, a manifest devouring. After all and once and nothing else, after all and once and nothing, everything. If, by definition, civilization remains for us a rapacious comfort, then might we as one reclaim, clinging to such a comfort, planting ourselves in whatever shapes remain considerate to us, in soft conjugal repast. Once in dark repose, the universe is permanently failed. May we lean still in the unctuous shimmers that loving each other in all wisdom has left behind. Your kiss, a sweet sack of seed and ash to my lips, the lascivious and the insidious sweet balm of if a clabbered sweetness yet prevails. This is my sonic poem, Pell Grant for a Space Force. It's one of my longer ones. I write long poems, pages and pages, and it's hard for me to write a poem under 2 pages. But this is, like I said, 2 sonnets broken up by a senru. I roll up in the buff, a ball of wolves at your door, at your window, to your door. I'm cardboard and cobalt like a blues. My banjo is a cigar box, a jumble of old bra straps and 3 strands of mountain locks for strings. My head is carved from wood, a pearl mask with Caucasianic crown, words stacking within words like a canopic jar, our seeds within a pomegranate. My love for you is the dead wasp at the center of a fresh budding fig. Can I woo you with kisses contaminating, lisp laminating skin, your putty left impressed, concussed by the inks seeping until that settles that. Tea steeped in honey. All I'm saying is, watch as I pull a habit from this rat, or some other broken stanza made prone from depreciating similes. The night sky pouring through my windows like a faucet, stars pulling at feet. It's like Wadzoo Valentino Liberace and Patrice Lumumba's love child for you. Candomblé meeting candelabra in the wild, and in this sentence, the engine stalls. My emperor has no clothes. No one has more no clothes than he. Come and see what the most least looks like. Language devoid of lingerie. Like you, I was born in an alternate banality. I'm anti-fascist and it keeps raining ketchup. No wonder we're American. But I'm not a peeping Tom. I'm only here for the kidnapping. Grab your coat. The ransom note written in crayon and sausage graving. So authorities take me serious. Here be dragons begins our wedding vows. This cocooning dawn, soft and coy in the calloused hands, embracing hips. Lover, if there's a vacancy for a make-believe friend, let me in. If I eat you up, I'll let you out, I swear. Isn't the cryptozoologist in you just a little bit curious? And should all else fail, then trade with Jack my magic beans for that tawny cow. Skin the cat, collect the bounty, return the cinder, and don't look back. I'll always be waiting, the moth drawn to contagion, the giant slayer with the golden goose grin, your driver of the stretch limo stagecoach with the sweet low haberdashing trash talk. Burn the bridge or download my app. I'm always combusting, the lycanthrope with the Listerine smile. Beneath the tangerine's rind near its core, my whole heart, holding hope, bleeding your name. My heart, a ruby, a hole in rubble. And that was, when I was writing this poem 10 years ago, about almost 10 years ago, Pell Grant for Space Force, it was interrupted with Trump's first term, one of his first speeches where he was announcing the Space Force. So I was just so dumbstruck and dumbfounded by that time. That there's a whole section in the middle of this that's kind of devoted to Trump, talking about the emperor has no clothes. You know, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe what's going on. So the poem veered from that, from what it was intended, which was kind of like a love poem. It veered from that into this political message, which I'm good. Almost everything I write is political. Even my love poems, you know, are like calls for revolution. But that's just a little background on that. I've got a couple of poems where our president, past and present, stumble into my work. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but he's there. So I'm going to read some from my last collection. The second stop is Jupiter. And this is some of my more strictly speculative, and there's a little speculative in all my work. Surrealness, which is probably my biggest. You know, my daughter says that I write some weird shit, so I tend to agree with her. This is the hero with an African face. For Dwayne Jones, John Boyega, Captain Benjamin Sisko, and Tarleton from Earth Colonization. Chapter 1. In the basin of his helmet, the black astronaut's skull grows a garden. As a child, I slayed the dragon. dashed through all the flames to kill the witch, ending a curse, freeing the village. As a child, I saved every damsel, dairymaid or royal, was gifted keepsakes by their kings, every possession kindly offered. Their coins, their crowns, their daughters pledged their hands to me, their champion knight. And in every narrative, I deeply knelt. I ousted aliens as a child, riding comets bareback through cosmic alleys, the only astronaut who could. Until dangers were thwarted, and for such theatrics, the earth thickened with ticker tape beneath my feet, making moonscapes of Main Street. And at command to my side flooded a throng of starlets, gifting keys to the city. We cruised Broadway in glass carriages and ragtop caddies from downtown to the park, past cheering throngs in their cameras. Reporters ran through their mares, raising inquisitive hands as I recounted each deed, the sun soft and slipshod above my shoulders. The Venusians thought weeds of us, but we resist annihilation. What fine regalia are inalienable Black joy. But in real life, I was a small, tender child, a sweet Black child with gerrymandered precocity, not free to be the exemplar, just another Black agitator. My soul, whatever that was, molded into shape by commodifying media and its monopolizing imagination. I was told my kind had the most of it, this soul, that I should face it, that I should take this once in a lifetime adulation and nurture it on gridirons and hardwood sponsored by Wilson and Adidas. But in real life, the Black soul is just a construct of white guilt. For I was born not a soul, but a living body. Chapter 2, my dark heart is centripetal, not centripetal. Melanin in abundance or its lack, weaponized into political meaning, this pollution of some so-called empowerment is foundation for my existence, this plantation for Black activism, where non-compliance is grown for white academy and its capitalism, where the theater of diversion is sold as the progressive stance, whiteness with its tactical paternalism, the idol worshiping of idle hands, branded as patriotism for all Black people. An arbalest made of empathy and a periodic table of Black mythical semen and the mythical Black hymen. Just seasoning and athleticism and crooning, all conflated as Black natural spirit. Chapter 3. In 2021, the launch probe circles the sun to measure its breath, to touch its hem. But what we thrum isn't drum roll for the spiritual, it's only us. Fed up and sad as fuck at what you've done or didn't, my salt lick of language as kryptonite, the round ass of my history, defying assumptions of gravity. My lungs at maximum capacity of sadness isn't the echelon of soul. It's just the edification of oppression, an unasked forgiveness that stifles humanity. But I never yearned to hunger you, never hankered, yielding to the taut, pale automaton of austere mythology. You see, I've come to euthanize the Hydra. I never had the desire to tame or pet name it, because here, behind every grain of gold, there be monsters. Chapter 4. For much of its orbit, Pluto is closer to our sun than Neptune. Like every good child, I'm only here to kill the dragons. But will they perceive any old soul to sing that song? I, the beautiful bard, not your soul singing chattel. I will not let you harden my heart as pardon for your guilt. Black skin is no physical disfigurement, nor is it the iconographic emblem for painful endurances, not like your renditions of me in my clean Black hoodie, beneath which I am always the hero, have always been. Abstract Africana. Dark poems wobble on axis, wander into next orbit. New worlds purge eclipse, preparing for launch, ready to make empire of horizon, all systems aglow. Egun, we have liftoff. But what is a maiden voyage to a stolen people? Last night, I tore off my head, and from its sable pelt poured 1,000 poems, a beautifully discolored dialogue with its pages singed. My forehead ripped from its hinges, my inner voices spinning in outer spaces like a million cosmic lampposts, signaling Elegba's ancient analog. Every hair on my disconnected head, its own cathedral, coiling into God's unkept lighthouse. The oscillation of the black bucolics, a southern filter with a touch of botulism, came these, this compost of neck bones, this ancient beacon, a concordance of insights mapping tongue, where inner lights softly refrain, a strobing into promise, a sloping away from silence, the cognitive concurrency of the soul in summit, my severed head serving as halfway house for broken history, becoming the globe around which my gungun safely swoon, looking to gild moons of their own, for poems within themselves, a home away from home, where life and language are tethered as one, where mouth and this very moment are infinite, conjoined. From the black hole of a headless body, the booster rockets are falling away, and I'm sure I'm hearing roosters. Can you not hear them? I hear them, each and every one. When all is ready, I throw this switch. I'm what they call a golologist, means one who weds pretense to parable. Sentence structure is my baton, twirling iams and tossing vintage wisdoms high into the air, caught like a wish behind the altar of head with a profuse tongue. I snatch science from the nonplus like a dead language, but I don't rely on hope. I'm a supplicant surgeon, and there's no mendicancy to this mysticism. I don't deal in a lack of faith or lacking skill. I'm dope shit for real, player, believe that. My portfolio, a new age mojo bag, a Handed Juju synthesis. And the headline on my nation sack says, born under a bad moon by profession. The apothecary of my lips, blue and green. Contract is void if seal is broken. My sinuous slang slays a bull. Each poem pulls in the puddle of blood, a coagulated colloquialism where breath is facsimile for afterbirth. There are calories in my excrement. My physical word, all oxtails and onyx. And there's infinity, if not indincra, in my bottom line. Poet writs a white collar, is a blue-collared college worker, is a black hollerer, a barking hyacinth. And because my butterflies are prone to bite, my fabulism warrants a fine print. Caution. Black poet conjures on a closed course. Please don't try this shit at home. Kua was talking about the light coming in through the window on us earlier. And it only looks bright in here. It's getting dark in this room. And I can barely see my page. I'm like, oh my God. Do I need I need to get one of those ring lights. I'm going to have to invest in one of those. But I only do online readings like once a year, so I don't think it's a good investment. Let's see. John, thank you. Someone just cut a light on for me, and I'm very appreciative. This household works well together. John Henry says, I am not my hammer, AKA to boldly go dry longsword. This is one of my foreign poems, another double sonnet, basically. Starfleet said, Ben Cisco, take this rubber mallet and beat back whatever hordes come haunting. But pulling sci-fi from a nation sack, Ben replies, yo, don't sweat it. Your mission statement was always insufficient as you lacked the enterprise to explore the obeas I obey. By your design, it's always autumn in my captain's quarters, and I'm soured replicating April on the holodeck. I'm not plagued with cues or sentient quasars to overcome. Out on the fridges, y'all gave me what? Pork? So from this day on, I'm a warp driving man, and I'll not be your surveyor nor bricklayer anymore. The Gamma Quadrant deserves a wide berth, though I seek its thrill, but with a serial sadness, I take leave. I mean, for emissary's sake, I raised Jake in a damn hovel. Still, holler at a player when you see me in the streets. Peace out. Even in the dead of space are drumming the same astrological summons as to all others, gnaws his bones, and with the deed to the defiant on dash, Ben's forehead gleams with extant galaxy. This is how much time? Time for one more? I guess if I can make it a good one. Let's see if I can make it another good one, I should say. Spaceship for sale. 2020 was a light year for you, off drive. Every word dropped from warp, and here you are, a world away. Crawl home. Stop, alien, your urn sitting for Saturnalia. Your hoopty Star Cruiser has a busted drive shaft. Plus, you're real low on antifreeze and dark matter. Prometheus is an okay mechanic, but he's no Mott. It felt good when Starfleet degreed you, but what's a PhD in astromystics to the amoebas in your motherboards, baptized in nanobots? The future is hypnagogic. But you still have to eat, so spaceship for sale. The tachyons are in their indigenous casings. There's a hitch in the clutch, but no glitches. Alloy rims. And there might be a ding or two in the railgun side panel, but no wormholes, factory parts. Never been piecemealed, as is serious inquiries only.
I'm slow to move because I'm so stunned each time. I'm so enamored with the multivariate multiplicities in the richness of your riffing, how you put the all of we, the all, it's all in there. It is funny. It is popular. It is referential to the deepest of the spirituality and experience. I don't know why you act so reticent. We've got to get you reading more. And I already did without even hearing you read, because just reading your words, I knew I wanted to hear more and more and more from you, dear Brother Dirt. You too, like Mike, like you both do a thing that I so profoundly admire, which is a through line that is about heart and compassion and wrestling with the known, unknown, and unknown known. But the humor, the ha ha ha, but you be blazing through it. See, Mike's gave us moments to pause. You're just like, and I'm just like, what did he say? What did he say? I don't know if you couldn't have seen it. So maybe I'll try and save the chat, because one of the participants in particular, and another poet person, Miguel Mitchell, we are like, what? Did you catch that? Did you catch that? Oh my gosh. How did you come to use the speculative frame for this multiplicity that is you and that you express in your words?
I just I think that's always been there from a child. I used to draw comics and stuff, and in all the white pages of every Disney or Time Life book or whatever I had. But I think, like you were saying earlier, I think just Black people being in America is the most speculative thing. We talk about, what if aliens came and, kidnapped us and took us to, their world or whatever. And that's basically what happened.
That's what happened.
We were minding our own business, and all of a sudden, we're in these, ships, bound across the sea to, worlds we weren't even thinking about. So, particularly, life in the diaspora is very speculative. Just being able to survive and, creating languages and stuff, when it was almost forbidden for us to speak to each other at times, and still trying to figure out ways to communicate. I think it just all comes out of that,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry for going so fast. My partner is always telling me to slow down when I read, but I like
it's not that you read fast.
I feel like I read too fast.
The speed is not of the articulation. The speed is the speed of the thought and the density of what you are presenting us. So if you were doing it at 16,
I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's still, we want to chew over it. We want to, so folks, that's why you've got to get his book. You got to read it, because it was delightful for me that he read one of the poems I'd already read. And so I can compare that to my visual with your auditory. And it wasn't too fast. It's just that it's so dense. It's just so intense. Mike, please unmute. Are you unmuted? Great, because we're running out of time. And we've got a question for Mike from the audience, from the chat. And it's like, Mike Payne, what is your favorite poetic form?
Favorite? Oh, there's one that's called a rondo redoublé, or I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it all, but
that sounds right.
You start off with a quatrain, and then you do five more quatrains, and you end each quatrain with one line from the first one. And then you end the whole thing with the first couple words of the first one. So you got this sort of theme, and then you're kind of doing an exploration of the theme and jumping back and forth to the top, and again you end up right where you started. It's just
it makes me think, it puts me in mind, I'm not familiar with that, but it puts me in mind of a crown of sonnets.
Okay, come back.
Were you right? And we're going to go a minute over, because I do want to have this question answered by Up From Some Dirt, which is, how do you have no restraint in your metaphor creation? How do you have no restraint in your metaphor creation? It wasn't my question, but unmute, dear brother.
I was saying that I really don't know. I call myself the DOS effects of poets. It's just that, you listen to their old songs from the 80s, and they throw in commercials and everything they've read. I'm the same way. Everything I've read or seen just kind of works its way into my work. And I try to make the best sense of it.
Unconstrained, unrestrained. I am so grateful to these two poets for this evening that took us round the world and back again into space and beyond. Thank you both very, very much. And thank you, audience, for being here and bearing witness to the wonder of these creators and their magnificent, soul-filling words. Thank you, Michael H. Payne. Thank you, Up From Some Dirt. And folks, please return on the 27th when we'll have two more poets reading speculative poetry for National Poetry Month. Peace, grace, health, and safety to you all, and good night.
Thank you.